You are listening to the CWL podcast. Are you ready? Hey, everybody. It's kind of weird. Oops. What's up, everybody? I am Kate. I am the host of the Creative Women's League podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful day whenever it is that you are listening to this. This is the second of our weekly episodes, the first one being Mindful Mondays, where we spend 5 to 10 minutes just talking, getting our minds right for the week. And then on Wednesdays, we talk to a new creative badass every week. It is amazing. I get to chat with them and bring you their awesome story of success. There's lots of motivation, inspiration, and of course, community happening here at the Creative Women's League. If you want to get involved in the community, head on over to Instagram, follow us at Creative Women's League. It's awesome stuff. I love the Instagram. I just recently shared a story about getting my grandma's sewing scissors passed down to me by my grandpa because my grandma was no longer around. The story is a huge part of my life, and you guys were all so amazing, and your reaction, it made me and my mom cry. It totally did. I got all teary because everybody was talking about what a sweet story is. So if you want to go see that and all of our motivating, inspiring posts, a few giggle-worthy posts as well, head on over to Instagram. And then, of course, there is the Facebook group. Search Creative Women's League on Facebook. You can like our page, and then you can join the group and get in on the discussion. I can't wait to see you both places. I really, truly, honestly love to get to know each and every one of you. Frequent listeners of the show know that this is the part where I read out an iTunes review. So if you don't listen on iTunes, a lot of people have asked where they can review. Head on over to Facebook then on our page and leave a review there. I'll read those out as well. And today, that's who I'm reading the review from. Anita Smith left this review on our Facebook page, which is wonderful. It says, "This is such an inspiring podcast. Great interviews, great host, great range of topics dealt with in an upbeat, realistic way that we can all relate to somehow." Thank you so much, Anita. That is the kindest thing. It really is. It made me blush a little bit. I should have read that before I read it out loud. So if you would like your name shouted out right here on the podcast, go ahead and leave a review on iTunes or the Facebook page. Don't forget to leave your Instagram handle or your name on Etsy so I can shout it out to the world. That's what I want to do. All right. Y'all ready to hear Nikki Brooks-Reevis? I loved this interview. She's so upbeat and fun. It was a great time. I love Nikki's dive-in attitude. No fear, just going for it. It's something that I aspire to have myself. Every day, I try to just dive in. Just go. Please. One day it'll catch on, I swear. Talking to Nikki and then listening back to this interview, I'm ready to do it. She is super inspiring. Okay, I'll shut up. I know, I'll shut up. And you can listen to Nikki Brooks-Reevis. Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm good, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing well. So where are you calling us from?
I am in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. I've never been to D.C. I'd love to go.
It's kind of awesome. You know, what's good about this place is you have D.C., you have Virginia, you have Maryland, the Baltimore area. So it's just so much in this area. You never get bored. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So are you more towards like the Baltimore area?
No, I am probably 15, 20 minutes from DC.
Oh, okay.
20 minutes from DC. Yeah.
So you're DC. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're DC. Yeah.
Yeah.
We always end up, I think it's like an unofficial kind of thing of the podcast that I always end up talking about weather in different places. I don't know why I do it. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. Sunny as all get out. What's the weather like in Maryland? Oh, hot.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. What's crazy is that just a few days ago, it was 80. And this morning it was probably 40 something. So it's ridiculous. It's all over the place. Summer and warm weather is refusing to make its appearance. Yeah. But I'm originally from Nebraska, right? So Yeah, I
Oh,
know. I'm a long way from
yeah.
home.
I'm from Colorado. So anytime,
Okay.
so anytime people are from like a state that like surrounds Colorado, I'm like, oh, we're
Mhm.
from the same part of the world.
Well, I lived in Colorado for some time. I went to high school and middle school in Colorado. I lived in Aurora, and I lived
Yeah.
in Montbello, and I went to Montbello High. It was a nightmare, but yeah.
It was good. Yeah. Okay. I was like, okay. Yeah, that is so cool. Well, we should definitely talk about that. Were you, here, before I'll get too excited and I'll get too far into things, let's have you introduce yourself to everybody, who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Nikki Brooks, and I am a pattern designer, a sewing pattern designer. I'm a blogger. I'm a mommy, all those awesome things. And I pretty much do everything. I love home decor. I'm just kind of like jack of all trades, honestly.
Yeah, I love it. And your feed is so gorgeous. Like, if
Thank
anybody
you.
is not following you, they need to go follow you right now because it's just so pretty what you've done over there. So where
Thank
were you? So you're born in Nebraska and then
Born in Nebraska, yeah.
and then moved to Colorado. How long were you in Colorado then?
I was in Colorado, well, through like middle school and high school. So
Okay.
I was born in Nebraska, moved to Colorado, and then we moved back to Nebraska.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Omaha?
And so I finished Omaha, yeah.
Okay.
Omaha. I know, the big city, right?
Yeah, the big city. Exactly.
Big old great Omaha. So then we moved back there and I finished high school in Omaha. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you always a creative person? Always making things?
You know, when I look back, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not really. No. You know, I was that kid that would go to yard sales. I was so weird. I would go to yard sales and I would hop on my bike. So this just goes to show how young I was. I would hop on my bike, get up early while all the other kids are asleep like a little weirdo. I'd hop on my bike and I'm like riding around the neighborhood looking for yard sales. And so I would scourge around for, okay, brace yourself, makeup. Who buys makeup at yard sales
That's
as
so
a kid?
funny. Yeah, that's
And
so funny.
skincare. It's weird. I know.
People
but
sell that at yard sales?
Yeah, they did. And that's what turned me on to like skincare stuff. And I loved like masks. I was like in the 4th grade giving myself facials and masks. It was crazy. Yeah.
You just
So I
needed
was
some time to
obsessed.
relax.
Exactly. So not really creative in terms of, you know, wanting to make things and do all that. You know, I love changing my room around. I would change my room around every week. So I thought I wanted to be some type of decor person or interior decorator. But no, I didn't even have an interest in like designing. You know, a lot of people, they grow up knowing that, oh, I want to be a designer. I want to sell clothes. I want to dress celebrities.
Yeah.
And they know that from day one. And that was not my story at all whatsoever. I had no idea that I even could sew up until a few years ago.
Wow.
So it came out of nowhere. Yeah.
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 So where does your journey take you from there, getting your awesome masks for a deal at these garage sales, to starting to sew? Did you go to college for a certain thing or anything like that?
I did for business. I went to University of Nebraska and then I went to graduate school at GW and for business. And I have been in sales forever. I started out as a sales rep for a technology company. And then I just kind of worked my way up and then I became general manager and it was great. I worked nonstop though. The money was awesome. Everything was incredible with the exception of I didn't have a lot of time for myself. And then in 2011, my mother got sick and literally within 3 months, she passed away.
Wow.
And there was just like so much regret that I had. You know, she had still lived in Nebraska and I lived here. And I blamed there was a lot of guilt because I said, you know what? I always said that, you know, I was so busy. I didn't have time to visit as often as I wanted to. And she passed away in August and that January, and that was 2011, January of 2012, I quit my job. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to quit. just like
wow, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm working like crazy and I'm not happy doing it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted to take some time off. And so, yeah, that's what I did. And what's funny is that I took some time off and I said, okay, I'm going to start a blog. So that same month, I started a blog. Now, remind you, I had never even really followed blogs. I was just kind of Googling, what should I do with it myself?
Yeah.
And it just kind of came up, oh, why don't I start a fashion blog? But then I had been in corporate America for such a long time. It was like all my clothes were like suits and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's boring, all the time. And, so that was January, and May timeframe came, and I was online, following someone's blog, and she made a skirt. And it was such a pretty skirt. It was so easy. I was just like, okay, I have this sewing machine that's been sitting here collecting dust. Why don't I just pull it out and make this skirt? And the skirt was so pretty. It was horribly made, but I got so many compliments on it. It was more so, I think, the fabric. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can get out of these old boring, business clothes and start like making some stuff. Because at that point, I thought I was a fashion designer because I made one skirt.
Yeah.
And it happened to fit, right? So, and at that point, it just kind of started happening. I enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, I can actually sew. I know what I'm doing. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's incredible.
Yes. And I had no training. I think in elementary school, I'm not even going to tell you how old I am, because the fact that I said elementary school and I had a home ec class and we sold, that right there to tell you. So I remember in that class, I sewed through the cord of the machine. Who does that? Just like ignorant stuff, right? That was
That's pretty impressive.
Right. So that just goes to show how horrible I was. And that was so many years ago. And I had never had an interest in sewing or anything. I think I like made a throw pillow for my sofa or something, but nothing. So I had no idea that I could actually sew. And it just kind of went from there.
Now, did you have any, was anybody in your family, were they artistic people or even just practical people who had sewn their own things? Was that something you had been around at all?
Well, yeah, not really around. My aunt, she sewed everything. Like we would go to her house and she'd have like all these patterns, but it's nothing that I had an interest in. I was just like, okay, this stuff is a mess. It's all over the place. Yeah. And my mom, she sewed, but I think she kind of did that before. I don't remember. Everyone keeps telling me my mom sewed, but I don't remember. And like growing up, she didn't sew, but apparently when I was like really, really young, she did.
Yeah.
My sister is an actress. She has a one-woman show. She's, nominated for all these awards. So she's artistic.
Yeah.
And it's just the two of us. So I guess deep down in there somewhere, I guess it was in there hiding dormant, but yeah.
Yeah. I just love that it was something that you just came across so, I mean, I don't want to say so randomly, but you came across
it. It's random. Yeah. It's totally random.
And now you've been able to make this awesome life out of it. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. I really do.
So were you, I'm getting the feeling from you that you're very much like a dive-in person. Like you kind of just can take a leap. And do you listen much to the little voice that is scared?
You know what? I didn't, since having a baby. I have a 3-year-old. And after that, I am a bit more hesitant, only because I'm not just responsible for myself. It's for her too. But yeah, I just feel like you have this one life and it's very short and you have to take those chances. And if you fail, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Just keep it moving, move on to something else.
I love it. It's something I've adopted too late. Well, not too late, but it's something I adopted later in my life. Mm-hmm. And I just love when you meet people who are naturally kind of more like, oh, forget it. Just try it out. See how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, that could be just, my personality. It could be a bit of ADD. I don't know, but I think it could be a mix of both.
Well, whatever it is, it seems to be working for you. So Yeah.
Thank you.
I love it. So let's talk about the early days of the blog. You said this was about like 2012 then?
Yeah, 2012. Yes. January 2012 is when I started the blog.
Awesome. So what were the early days of blogging like for you?
I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Are you kidding me? It was so ridiculous and so funny. I had a tripod in my closet and I would take the pictures with the tripod in the closet, like overexposed light.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was just like, no one's interested in looking at these clothes that I would just kind of like piece together. And this is just stuff out of my own closet. And so, yeah, that was that. But what was interesting, and it's always so funny when what you do, you think, oh, okay, it's very basic. It's not that fantastic, but then people love it. People, and that's people kind of liked even that stuff. So now that when I go back, I wish I could just take it off my blog. But when I go back, I just crack up laughing because then I even went so far as to go on to like eBay or something. And I kind of built like this little, photography studio in my basement.
Oh, awesome.
And it was all, no, it was not awesome. It was ridiculous. Again, that goes to the whole just experimenting and see what works and see what doesn't work. But yeah, the early days, it was a lot of food, a lot of, doing stuff around the house, doing backsplashes, painting. I converted some rooms to sewing rooms. I'm now on sewing room number 3.
Oh.
So it was a lot of that. I don't get to do as much of that anymore just because time.
Yeah, baby.
But, yeah.
Child.
And she's not really
toddler.
3, still a baby. Yeah.
That's a side note. That's because I'm a cousin. I've always been very close to my cousins. I don't have any kids of my own, but anytime my cousins hit like 2.5, 3 years old, I was like, this is my time to shine.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun. What a fun age.
It is such a fun age. I mean, she's just like the dopest kid ever.
Yeah.
She's seriously.
Well, she's so cute. Like,
thank you.
Holy mackerel. She is so cute. So the early days of the blog, it was, I mean, is that just a lifestyle blog then? I mean, is that what you were just kind of showing your life and all these projects
that's
you were
what
taking on?
It was a lifestyle blog. And I think it was a DIY lifestyle. And it's always been about DIY.
Yeah.
Even when it first started with that, when I had my own clothes, a lot of it focused on doing like just projects and just DIY stuff and cooking. And, I used to do a lot of cocktail stuff, not so much anymore, but it was a lot of that. And then it just began literally within 6 months, it began to kind of morph into more of a sewing DIY, blog. Yeah. So after that skirt came about and then, I started sewing other things.
Yeah.
And it just kind of happened from there. And I think and I didn't intentionally do this, but I think what, kind of set my sewing stuff apart from others, was that I didn't necessarily follow patterns.
Oh,
I didn't follow a pattern. Yeah. And then the patterns that I do follow, and I love patterns. I absolutely love them, but I always end up changing them. And what I found in that, I thought everyone kind of did this, but then I discovered that that wasn't the case, is I can kind of look at a pattern and say, okay, this looks like just a regular shirt. But in my mind, I see like a dress with this on it and sleeves. And so basically just using a pattern as just a base to create something really unique and interesting based off of that pattern.
It's so funny because I don't sew clothes, but I have always knit and crocheted and sewn other things. And there was a point where I was with an ex-boyfriend's mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, you should make this. It was crocheted something or other. I was like, you should, she was selling baby clothes. And I said, you should make this and do this to it and blah, blah, blah. And she goes, her face just fell. And she said, well, I guess if you found me a pattern for it, I could do it.
Right.
And that was the first time I had that realization that not everybody is going to just be so crazy that they're always going off pattern.
Yeah, I thought that everyone kind of did that. And then I discovered that that wasn't the case.
No, yeah.
That wasn't the case, yeah.
There's a certain facet of people who really just want to see it written down. They want somebody else to have done the math on it, the planning on it. And that's that. That's what they want to do. Right.
Like, I don't sketch. I don't do any of that. That, you know, most people who do this, they do that. And it's so funny because even when I'm submitting my patterns that I'm doing for McCall, you know, everyone who has patterns under them, their own brand under them, you know, they submit their sketches and this is what I plan to do. And mine is they probably crack up laughing when they get it because it's like screenshots from Pinterest. Be like, okay, I like this sleeve. I like this. And I think I'm going to put this together. And it's probably so ridiculous. And they're like, I don't know what this woman's going to send in to us, but let's just hope it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it seems to be working out, which is great. I think it kind of shows that you can, you know, you don't necessarily don't count yourself out because you aren't doing it the same way as everybody or you don't have the same skill set as everybody, whatever it is.
Exactly. And I didn't go to school for this. And, you know, a lot of people, that's what they do. They go to school for fashion design and all that. And they feel like they have to perfect this stuff. And what I found is that there's so many ways to do this one thing. And just because the instructions say you have to do it this way, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it this way. As long as it gets done and you love the end result, do it however you want. However you can get there, just do it that way.
I love that. I love it so much. I've always been intimidated by sewing clothes and I have no idea what my hang up is.
Right.
But that right there helps.
First of all, don't read the instructions.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Okay. So not reading the instructions.
Yeah.
Because they're intimidating?
They are confusing.
Yeah.
Especially if honestly, I don't look at the instructions. I'll look at, okay, this is what the pattern it's supposed to look like. And these are the basic pieces to the pattern. So let's just go ahead and put our brains together and just feel like, okay, this is how this is supposed to be put together. Because if you start reading those instructions and they're saying cut on the bias and yada, 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 you're like, okay, I don't know what any of this means. So you're wasting all your time Googling these terms. And yeah, for me, that didn't work. It didn't work.
So with the first pieces that you're really making, at what point did you start to follow patterns for the most part? Like, were you going into your local sewing store and finding, oh, I like that dress. You're going to modify it, but were you using other people's pieces or were you just kind of making it up from square one?
No, I was definitely using patterns.
Okay.
Definitely. Even now, in fact, I'm working on something right now that I'm using a pattern. But what I'm doing is I'm piecing like different patterns together.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you can create your own pattern, which I do, but that's time consuming. I need this dress and I need it tomorrow. So it's like, I'm going ahead and kind of, but yeah, even early on, I did my own pattern. I pieced together patterns from, you know, other brands and kind of did it that way. Yeah.
I love it. So, you've got your blog. It starts to see some traction. You're starting to sew more. What point do you really start to see like there's a future in this for you?
It's weird because that took like a couple years.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It took like a couple years for me to think like, okay, well, maybe I could do something with it because after I made, I want to say like a wrap maxi dress, right? And everyone loved this maxi dress. And so they were asking, you know, will you make it for me? And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I can start making clothes for people. So I went on Etsy, of course, and I opened up an account on Etsy. I started taking orders for that. And then people would just randomly say, oh, I saw this on your blog. Will you make this for me? Oh, of course I will. But that turned into an absolute nightmare.
I bet.
Yeah, it was not the best move. And so I quickly shut that down. And then I thought, well, maybe if I just, show people how I made this, they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
They can do it themselves. Because, I could sell a maxi dress for XYZ, but then just like the blood, sweat, and tears that went into perfecting it. And then I'm like this uber perfectionist. And so it's like something that normally would take me 2 hours to do was taking me 4 hours, only because I was like, okay, they're going to get this at their house and I want to make sure every seam is perfect. And it was just ridiculous and crazy. And who does that?
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have, someone like, doing this for them in the background, or you sending it out to have it produced. So, which is very expensive and
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of,
so you had to regroup and just figure out what the next step would be.
Yeah. And I didn't really have a plan, honestly. Things just kind of started to happen in terms of the patterns, and then working with Mood, which has been awesome working with them, because I have access to amazing fabric, which makes a big difference in this too. So what happened with that, after probably not even a year of trying to make my own clothes, I was contacted by someone at Mood, and she asked if I wanted to do a guest post, which was, just they give me the money, or they pay for my fabric for 1 month, and, I do something, and this is my Mood fabric that I used, and it went up on the Mood site. Well, apparently it did well. And then they asked me to be the Mood style blogger. And so with that, I have to do X amount of looks per month. And that's now been going on for the last probably 3 years, maybe.
That's awesome.
I'm saying like 3 years. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm guessing with how you're a dive-in person, did it ever cross your mind that you weren't ready for this opportunity, or that you should turn down this opportunity?
All the time. Are you kidding me? Especially because there are people, honestly, that have been sewing their whole life. And so I feel like sometimes, is this an insult to those people who've gone to school and, have done this, and this is what they aspire to be? And it's like, this chick comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden she's making patterns, and she didn't, I think about that often. I think about it often, but then I look, I'm like, oh my God, but this is so beautiful. Of course they love it, so it's like, yeah.
I'm cracking up over here because I expected you to be like, no, I thought I should just dive in and go for it and do it, because that seems to be your personality. But you can't really escape it. Like, there's always going to be a little voice in the background that's kind of going, is this a good idea? Should we really do this? But I love that you didn't listen to that voice.
Yeah. Even, it's so funny because I took my business background and have applied it to this. Yeah. Because a lot of people look at it like, this is just, you take pictures and you do this and this and this. But there's a lot that goes in on the back end of it. And I'm doing this by myself. I have a little girl, she's in school now, but for the first 2.5 years, she was not in school. So it was like, I'm trying to do all of this, and be a mom and that whole thing. So yeah, it's a lot. And even with kind of like the thing that happened with McCall's, there's a lot that went in the back end with that, and the business aspect of running this blog and doing these patterns. And so, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of coffee. Let me tell you, that's probably why I'm talking so fast. So excuse me, but I'm on coffee number 3, by the way.
Oh, that sounds so good. So good. No, I love it. And I like the energy. So that's totally great. Okay. So Mood came first, then McCall's came after that?
Yes. McCall's came, I guess it's been probably 2 years now with McCall's, but let me tell you what's funny. So I've of course been in sales forever.
Yeah.
And in terms of getting business, you have to, present a proposal. And even for companies, and I kind of had this mindset. When I was in sales, we sold technology. I would contact a company, even if they weren't interested in what I had to basically sell them on, okay, well, this is why you need this.
Yeah.
This is how it will benefit your bottom line. And I took that same concept to McCall. I contacted them, to the person that makes the decisions. Hey, this is who I am and this is what I think I can offer. I went to New York. I met with them. It was a super dope meeting and it just that's what it was. I left the meeting. They said, yeah, well, let's do it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I just love that you took the bull by the horns and you're like, well, this is something I would want to do. So let's make it happen.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I think that people need to understand is that all these brands, they're not going to come and knock on your door, because there's so many people that's out there that's doing exactly what I do. So you have to be proactive. You have to run it as a business from the back end. Yeah. You have to do that. You have to.
Well, and I do think that's a misconception. I think a lot of people are, sitting on their hands waiting for the companies to come knock on their doors. And you've got to make these opportunities for yourself. So when you walk into this meeting with McCall's, how long had you been sewing at this point?
Let's see, this happened. Is this 2018? I think that was 2015, probably 3 years.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, like 3 years. Yeah.
We have kind of two different groups of thought with listeners that I hear from at the CWL. And one is like, I started this company yesterday. Why is it not booming? And the other is, no, I've only been doing this 10 years. I'm not ready for that. Right. So I think I really like to know the timing on these things for women who are getting out there and making it happen for themselves.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, it seems, I don't know, in my mind, I've been doing this for 27 years, but, I look at the calendar and that's not the case. So yeah, I get it. And there are certain things that I'm thinking I'm horrible at. There's a lot of things that I'm great at, but there's a lot of things that I'm horrible at. And I will probably be much further if I was better at it or would allow someone else to do it. But that means paying someone else to do it. And, all that stuff is expensive. And I'm a very frugal person, hence the DIY. Yeah. But, so yeah, I know at some point I'm going to have to allow someone to help me, like seriously help me. And I get that for sure.
Yeah. Well, we've got episodes about it. You can listen.
Okay.
You can listen to people like Tilly tell how she
I listened to that one. I did. Yeah. Yeah. She's awesome.
It's so interesting though, because we do, I think that's one of the hardest steps in a business that I've noticed is when you go from, that's okay, I can do it all myself, I'll just get a little less sleep, I'll drink a third coffee, to taking that leap into, okay, I do need some part-time help around here. It's right. I think it's a hard one for, I'm going to go ahead and say, for women to do.
Especially for like creative women. And, I just think that the time in my mind, I know this isn't always the case, but the time that it's going to take me to explain this is exactly what I want to do, I could have done it myself. Yeah. But I know that's ridiculous. I know it's insane. But in my mind, that's how I'm justifying all this lack of sleep and all that. That's how I'm doing it. So.
Well, we'll have you, you'll have to come back and let us know how it goes when you do start to hire your dream team. Because I have a feeling it's coming for you. I mean, you're making such amazing things happening and you've got that adorable girly. So.
I know. I got to do it for her for sure. Yeah. It's so funny. The other day she came up, she loves Barbie, like loves, I know this is not even the age range for Barbies, but she's obsessed. Oh, yeah. So she comes into my office and she says, can you make me a pillow for my Barbie? And I'm just like, how do you know I can do that? She's like, Mommy, make a pillow. So I'm in here making pillows for her little Barbie. And so she's starting to get it. She's like, okay, my mommy's kind of creative a little. She can kind of whip me up some Barbie clothes. So yeah, she's my major motivation.
Oh, I bet. What was it like? 'Cause you were a creative entrepreneur before having a child. How has that changed now that you have her? I mean, I know that's like the longest answer in the world, but just a few ways in which it's changed for you. Because
I think I take it a lot more seriously now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have to. I have to take it a lot more seriously because of her. And I'm very motivated. I have someone else that I'm responsible for.
Right.
And, I want to provide the best life possible for that little person. So that's really important to me.
Yeah. And what about the time aspect of things?
Well, she's in school all day now.
Yeah.
So it gives me the full day. And then when I pick her up, I don't do any work until, from that time I pick her up until the time she goes to bed. I'm a very routine person. So, she goes to bed and wakes up at the same time. And so I have these hours that are dedicated. So even after she goes to bed, I then start working again, and I'm up to probably 2 a.m. on average. And, so it's a routine. It's a routine, but weekends, I don't typically do anything. I may take pictures, on the weekend. But yeah, it's definitely mom time.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the best ways to get through it. Being a creative mom is like really I've heard you start to think about your time much differently because you want to be spending it with her and,
right.
And getting more organized with your time and your schedules can help that a ton.
For sure. Yeah.
So as you start to plan for, the future of your business and goal setting, what do you do for do you do goal setting sessions? Do you have ways that you keep, your goals and the next step in check?
I do. I'm not as good at it. I have these binders, old school, super old school, but I have these binders and I have to all my ideas out. And there's a binder for home. And then there's a binder for fashion ideas and blog ideas. And then it's just a lot of binders. And then I have this whiteboard that's up. So I'm always looking at it and I'm always thinking of ideas. It's seriously kind of sickening. I'm always thinking of stuff. Even in my car, I have a little recorder that no one probably knows about. I stick it in my glove box because I'm always talking and thinking about something. So so in terms of goals they're always written down. I'm moving toward them. They may be very, very, very slow, but I'm itching toward them for sure.
But that's one of the most important things you can do for achieving a goal is just getting it down on paper.
Right.
I'm getting better at that.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when you have so many ideas. You feel like, okay, I'm overwhelming myself, but yeah.
It's happened recently where I was like, oh, that'll be the best thing to do for a Mindful Monday. I am so excited about that. And then 10 minutes later, it is gone from my brain. I cannot access it again. So I'm getting, it is important to keep those ideas jotted down and keep that kind of, and maybe something doesn't work for you at the time, but you can come back to it. And then you're like, oh, exactly. Wait, I'm ready for that now. I love it so much. So what would be, one piece of advice you'd give to a woman who's listening right now? She knows that she wants to start her creative business, her blog, things like that. But she's either nervous or she doesn't think she has the tools or know how to do it.
I would just say, just do it on your own terms. Stop. And this is what a lot of people do. They kind of compare themselves to other people. Just do what you feel in your heart, whether someone reads your blog or not. Do what you think is just dope in yourself. Don't think about anybody else. And just do it. Just do it. Don't think it has to be perfect. Don't think you have to have the best technology, the best everything, the best computer, the best camera. Just jump in and do it. Because if you continue to put it off, then, time is going to pass. And you're going to be like, okay, it's not perfect, so I can't put it out. Just do it. Just do it. And you'll learn as you go.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people out in the blogosphere that have so many helpful tips and, they're willing to lend a hand. And it's a lot of people that you can lean on for sure.
Yeah. That's one of the things that's so amazing. I think about creative women in general is the majority of women I've met have just been open books about it. It's really cool. It's really awesome. Got to tap into those free resources.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And being yourself is huge. You know, it's easy to, people always blame it on social media, but it's easy to look anywhere and just be like, oh, my designs aren't, I don't have McCall patterns yet.
Right. Right.
But it's kind of useless to do that.
But it's so funny. Social media is weird because it's like you start comparing yourself to others. And then, you know, it's just basically they're representative because I probably don't seem the same way. I'm not a big, cute social media person, which is crazy because I have to use it. But, you know, I've been told I'm a certain way on social media, probably more serious looking but I'm super goofy and that whole thing. So it's, I don't know, I guess it doesn't really translate onto the computer. So
that is funny because from the second you and I started talking, we were laughing back and forth. And I was like, oh yeah, I thought Nikki was going to be a very serious person and a very
everyone says that. It's crazy. I know. I don't know. They're like, you need to smile in your pictures. Like, no, I have to have a serious face on. Are you kidding me? This is going to convey a better picture. But so you know, on social media, it's weird. So people need to stop thinking that social media is like someone's real life. Yeah, because it's honestly is typically just a little snapshot. And I'm not trying to present it as if it's my life. Like, this is just, you know, I like taking pictures of stuff that I've made and, you know, it doesn't really convey my personality. I know I need to get better with that. Everyone tells me that. I know I need to get better. You need to show your personality on Instagram. But I just, you know, just talk to me, call me.
Well, yeah, I would highly recommend calling Nikki. She's wonderful. Right. Well, and your brand is with like the name of your brand and stuff. I do feel like there is more of, maybe that's just your brand is the more serious side, the more like lifestyle blogger kind of, side of things. And I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing to have a brand that's a little, different from who you are.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I like nice things and, you know, in terms of what I wear and, you know, that's who I am. You know, I don't wear those clothes online and then at home I'm in sweats. Like I literally am dressed up right now and I'm just sitting at my desk. But it's weird. I don't know. It's this strange thing with social media. I think people expect certain things. I mean, usually for me, they're kind of like pleasantly surprised because I do probably look so serious, you know, online. So it's weird. Yeah. Yeah,
it is funny. That's hilarious because I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're giggling. I mean, I've had interviews. They're wonderful. People are very like serious. They take the whole process very serious. It's very, okay, let's get this done. This conversation has been great. Thank you so much. But then you and I, like I said, we started giggling like the second we got on the phone. So
yeah.
Well, Nikki, if you are ready, I am ready to head into the 3 Creative Women's League musts.
Okay.
So, the first one is what is one thing every badass woman should read, watch, or listen to.
Okay, so let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't read a whole lot. I listen to online videos and I listen to books, audio books, just because I don't really have the time to sit down and read it. But one that I love podcasts too. Someone turned me on a podcast just recently, but since then I listen to podcasts every single day. And one that I like when I'm trying to really stay in that motivated place, is Girl Boss Radio.
Yeah,
I love Girl Boss Radio because it's a lot of stories on women entrepreneurs that just kind of like how they started their whole track. And that's really inspiring for me because, you know, we sometimes get in our own way and we need to kind of get back on track. And when you hear other stories, it motivates you and it kind of said, okay, you know, I can do this and I can be my own motivation. And so, yeah, Girl Boss Radio, love that podcast for sure.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I've always felt like once you hear that somebody else has gone through something similar to what you have, or I don't know, maybe they had it worse or better or whatever you want to say about it. But it always just helps to know, like, hey, they freaking did it. I can freaking do it.
Exactly. And I like for people to know that even about my story. You know, you don't have to have this extensive design background to kind of make your mark. You don't have to.
And I mean, to be quite candid, that helps me a lot because I spent a lot of my, like I was always a creative person, but then sometimes I'll be like, God, I wish I had really started sewing in high school. I had the machine. Why didn't I do it? And they're in just these little weird moments of like, I guess my mind just needed something to be upset with myself for. Like, I don't know why I'm beating myself up about it, but, yeah, that's really great to know. There's a quote that's like, you can start late, look different, and whatever else. I'm butchering the quote. And still be successful. So that's great to know.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. And who is one woman we should all go follow right now?
Okay. Well, on Instagram, it's a designer. She's an interior designer. She gives you all these incredible words of wisdom. Sometimes they're a little vulgar, but I love it. Yeah. Just a lot of priceless gems. She's a mom. She runs her own business. She travels. And kind of the decor is a little dark, kind of like I like. Yeah. But her name is Nikki Walker. And she goes under the decor goddess.
Okay.
I just think she's super dope. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And
and I don't know her, but I love looking at whatever she posts. I'm just like all over it all the time.
Yeah. It helps inspire you. And
yeah.
You know, sometimes you need a little vulgar phrase to laugh at or enjoy.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that in your day.
Right.
And what is one mantra, quote, or affirmation that you lean on often?
Something that has stuck with me my entire life. Just running your life on your own terms.
Yeah.
Just running your life on your own terms. Do whatever it is that makes you happy and complete. And if that means you're going to have 15 different lives by the end of your life, then go for it. Go for it.
That's wonderful. And I think it's really a good theme for you. I mean, it seems to be, after hearing your story, it seems to be that you're really just an advocate for that. And it's really what you've done with your own life. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's really important because at the end of the day, you don't want to say, oh man, I wish I would have done this, this, and this. Just do it.
Do it. Yeah, just absolutely.
Yeah.
Or, and I get that, I get it a lot. I know a lot of our listeners get it a lot where we feel like, oh, well, this person is doing that thing, so I've got to do it too. And it's like, nah.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything.
No. Do what feels good for you.
Exactly. Like, I love those people that will just pick up, move to another country and like live off the land. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's making them happy and they're living their life on their own terms. Now, a year from now, they may not do that. They may set up in the suburbs, but it's, they're living their life. And at the end of the day, they will be happy for doing that.
Yeah. And that second part is an interesting thing because, I had a friend who was, not a friend. I knew somebody who was very miserable with their life because they weren't living on their own terms. And then anytime somebody went and did something big and exciting and adventurous, like moved to a different city for a job, if they ended up in a different city after that or back in Orlando or whatever, they'd be like, see, do you see what happened to them? And it's like,
yeah, they kind of lived a little.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, it's horrible. That they tried something to see if it would work for them.
Right.
Like, okay. So absolutely. That's a great second half of that is like, that doesn't mean you're committing to something for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Nikki, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I've loved laughing along with you. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
Yes, they can find me on my blog at www.beautejadore, BeauteJadore.com, on Instagram, Beaute J'adore, Facebook, Pinterest, Beaute J'adore.
Perfect. And we can pick up your McCall's patterns through their website?
No, yes, through their website and any Joann fabrics.
Perfect.
They're all over the place. Yes.
I've, well, you listened to the Tilly episode, so you know you've heard it at least once from me. Every time a seamstress comes on the show, I'm like, I'm going to start sewing clothes. So I really have to start doing it.
You have to just do it. Just say, okay, I'm going to just, even if it's just a shirt.
Yeah.
Just start with the shirt. Start with the shirt.
Okay. Okay. I feel bad even saying I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do it. I really am. I've got the patterns.
Okay. Okay.
I'll make
tag me on it. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
So now you're committing, and I'm going to ask you in a couple months, where's the shirt? Please. Yeah.
That's it. That's almost exactly what I need. Like, I need somebody who's going to be like, you have to do this now. Like, you have to pay me money if you don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And we are all going to go follow you right now.
Thank you so much.
Don't you just love it? I hope it gives each and every one of you the moxie and excitement to go out and chase those partnerships that you've been wanting. Go do things before you're ready. And just dive in. Episode 3, Melody Miller said, leap and the net shall appear. And oh boy, Nikki is a perfect example of that. I got to thank Nikki for being on the show. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Head on over to the Instagram. Join us over there. There's lots of ways to get involved in discussions. Chat with your fellow creative women. There's always something fun happening over there. Big discussions happen. It's my favorite. I just love it. And then, of course, head on over to Facebook. Join the Facebook group. Last but not least, don't forget to share a review on iTunes or on the Facebook page. Include your Instagram handle or Etsy shop or whatever so that I can be giving you a shout out right here. I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in for another fantastic episode of Creative Women's League. You guys are the best. Mwah. You're still here? It's over. Go home.